The massive space station hung like a jeweled pendant against the velvet backdrop of space. Its crystalline spires and gleaming metal surfaces reflected the light of 3 nearby suns, creating a dazzling display that had impressed visitors for centuries. Today, however, all eyes were focused on the approaching vessel, a human ship. The Earth vessel Peacekeeper moved with a grace that surprised many observers. Its sleek, dark hull showed none of the crude designs the council members had expected from such a young species. As it docked with practiced precision, dozens of alien diplomats gathered in the observation deck, their varied forms creating a living rainbow of colors and shapes. Ambassador James Miller stood at the airlock, straightening his plain black suit. Unlike the elaborate robes and ceremonial armor worn by other species, the human delegation had chosen simple, practical clothing. Behind him, his team of 5 maintained perfect formation, their military background evident in their stance despite their civilian attire. "Remember," Miller spoke softly to his team, "we're here to observe as much as we are to talk." His weathered face showed the lines of someone who had seen too much, yet his blue eyes remained sharp and alert. The airlock cycled open with a soft hiss. The human delegation stepped into a vast chamber where representatives from over 30 spacefaring civilizations waited. The Hivemind Collective's delegates, looking like tall, elegant insects with iridescent shells, stood to one side. Their compound eyes tracked every human movement with unsettling precision. The Crystal Empire's representatives, beings of living crystal who chimed softly as they moved, maintained their distance at the far end of the chamber. Between them, the numerous members of the Stellar Republic, a mix of various humanoid and non-humanoid species, filled the space with quiet murmurs. High Counselor Bright Crystal, the leader of the welcoming committee, stepped forward. His crystalline form caught the light and scattered it in rainbow patterns across the floor. "Welcome, humans of Earth, to the Grand Council Station. We are pleased you could make this journey." Miller noted the slight pause, the carefully chosen words. He smiled, a simple, diplomatic expression that revealed nothing of his thoughts. "The pleasure is ours, High Counselor. Earth has long awaited this day." From the shadows, a Hivemind observer named Deep Thought clicked its mandibles. "Such a long journey for such a young species. We trust the trip wasn't too taxing for your primitive drives." Miller's smile didn't waver. "Our ships served us well. Thank you for your concern." He gestured to his team. "Allow me to introduce Earth's delegation." As Miller made the introductions, his second-in-command, Thomas Reed, carefully watched the alien reactions. He noticed how the Crystal Empire representatives chimed in patterns that seemed like coded messages, how the Hivemind delegates maintained a formation that kept the humans within a triangle of observation, how the Stellar Republic members slowly shifted to block the main exits. The welcome ceremony proceeded with practiced precision, yet underneath the polite words and formal gestures, tension simmered. The humans were led to their quarters, a suite that, while luxurious, was positioned in a section of the station that could be easily isolated. Later that evening, as the delegation settled in, Miller stood at the viewport, watching the endless dance of ships around the station. Reed joined him, holding a datapad. "They've placed monitors in every room," Reed reported quietly. "Standard surveillance, but more than usual for diplomatic guests." Miller nodded, his reflection in the viewport showing no surprise. "They still think we're children playing at galactic politics." He turned to face his team. "Get some rest. Tomorrow, we'll show them just how wrong they are." In their private chambers, the alien council members reviewed the day's events. They saw a primitive species, barely worth noting. They saw an easy target for their plans. They saw exactly what they expected to see. What they failed to see was the quiet confidence in the humans' eyes. They missed the subtle military precision in their movements. And most importantly, they overlooked the fact that humanity hadn't come to ask for permission. They had come to give a warning. The first piece was now in place. The game was about to begin. The grand meeting hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with activity as holographic displays filled the air. Charts, graphs, and trade statistics floated around the circular chamber like digital constellations. At the center, Ambassador Miller and his team sat quietly, watching the elaborate presentation. High Counselor Bright Crystal's voice resonated through the chamber. As you can see, humans, your current technology level places you in the protected development category. For your own safety, we suggest limiting your expansion to your current 3 colony worlds. Miller noticed how the data conveniently omitted Earth's successful defense against the recent Outer Rim pirates. He caught Reed's subtle hand signal. His intelligence officer had spotted more discrepancies in the presented statistics. "And what of the trading rights?" Miller asked, his voice calm and measured. "Our merchants have reported significantly higher success rates than what your charts show." The HiveMind representative, Deep Thought, stepped forward, its antennae twitching in what might have been amusement. "Young species often misinterpret market fluctuations. Your limited experience in galactic commerce may lead to optimistic assessments." While the obvious condescension filled the air, Lisa Barnes, the human delegation's communication expert, was quietly monitoring alien transmission frequencies. Through her earpiece, she caught fragments of encrypted messages bouncing between council members. The patterns were too regular to be random diplomatic chatter. "Perhaps," Miller responded, "we could review the raw data. Our analysts would appreciate access to the original survey reports." The Crystal Empire's trade minister, Sharp Edge, chimed in alarm. "That would violate numerous protocols. Surely you understand, given your developmental stage." In the observation gallery above, Tom White, another human team member, watched the subtle interactions between alien species. He noticed how the Stellar Republic representatives always positioned themselves between the humans and the main computer terminals. How the HiveMind delegates maintained a perfect formation that kept the human delegation within their field of vision. "We have prepared a comprehensive protection agreement," Bright Crystal announced, projecting a new document into the air. "This will ensure your species' safe development under our guidance." Miller studied the agreement, his face showing polite interest while his mind cataloged the carefully hidden clauses, provisions that would effectively turn Earth into a resource farm for the council races. He caught Reed's eye, receiving a slight nod. The intelligence team had found what they were looking for. "This is quite detailed," Miller commented. "You must have spent considerable time preparing it." He paused, letting the implication hang in the air. The agreement was too polished, too specific to have been drafted during the talks. Deep Thought's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation that the humans had learned to recognize. "We believe in thorough preparation. Efficiency benefits all species." During a brief recess, the human delegation gathered in their assigned chamber. Reed activated their counter-surveillance devices, creating a secure bubble of privacy. "They've been planning this for months," Reed reported, displaying his findings on a secure tablet. "Our deep space monitors caught their scout ships mapping Earth's defense grid. They think they were undetected." Miller nodded, unsurprised. "And the encrypted transmissions?" Lisa Barnes pulled up her analysis. "They're coordinating something big. Multiple fleet movements disguised as routine patrols, all converging near our sector within the next month. They expect us to sign their protection agreement before then," Miller concluded, "making their invasion legal under council law." The team shared knowing looks. None showed fear or concern, only a calm determination that would have worried the council members had they witnessed it. "Should we confront them?" White asked. Miller smiled, not his diplomatic smile, but a predator's grin. "Not yet. Let them think their plan is working. Let them think we're naive enough to believe their lies." He stood, straightening his jacket. "After all, they've shown us exactly what we came here to confirm." As they returned to the council chamber, the alien leaders continued their elaborate deception, unaware that their every move was revealing more than they intended. The humans played their part perfectly, the young, impressionable species, awed by galactic politics. But beneath their careful diplomatic masks, they were counting down to the moment when the true balance of power would be revealed. The third day of peace talks began with an unexpected shift in tone. The council members had dropped their pretense of politeness, their true intentions rising to the surface like oil and water. The massive chamber felt colder, more hostile, as bright crystals form pulsed with barely contained energy. The time for gentle guidance has passed, the High Counselor announced, his crystalline voice sharp with authority. Earth will submit to protected status immediately, or face the consequences of defiance. Ambassador Miller sat perfectly still, his hands folded on the polished table before him. The rest of the human delegation maintained their calm, even as hostile alien faces surrounded them. Deep Thought stepped forward, mandibles clicking in what could only be described as smugness. We have already positioned our peacekeeping fleets near your colonies. For your protection, of course. The hive mind representative projected a series of maps showing massive fleet movements around Earth's space. Your industrial worlds will be administered by the Council. Sharp Edge chimed in, his crystalline form casting harsh shadows. Your resources will be managed by those with experience in galactic economics. Your military vessels will be repurposed. Miller glanced at Reed, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. Their own intelligence had already documented every ship movement, every hidden fleet. The aliens' attempts at secrecy had been noticed weeks ago. And if we refuse? Miller asked, his voice carrying none of the fear the Council members expected. The Stellar Republic's War Minister, a towering figure named Battlemaster, laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Refuse. You misunderstand, humans. This is not a negotiation. This is your species' new reality. Lisa Barnes, monitoring the alien communications, caught a surge of encrypted transmissions. She passed her tablet to Miller, showing the movement of even more battle fleets emerging from hidden positions. We have contained your expansion, Bright Crystal declared. Your colonies are surrounded. Your trade routes are blocked. Your choice is simple. Accept our protection, or face extinction. The Council chamber fell silent, aliens watching with anticipation for the humans to break down in panic or rage. Instead, Miller smiled. It wasn't his diplomatic smile, nor was it a smile of fear. It was the kind of smile that should have sent warning signals to every species present. Interesting, Miller said, standing slowly. You've shown us exactly what we needed to see. He nodded to his team, who began packing their materials with precise, unhurried movements. Deep Thought's antennae twitched in confusion. You seem to misunderstand your situation, human. You are trapped. No, Miller replied, his voice carrying a weight that made several council members step back. We're not trapped. We never were. He pulled out a small device, activating it to project his own set of star charts. While you were watching our colonies, counting our ships, and planning your invasion, you forgot something crucial. The projected maps showed hundreds of unknown signatures scattered throughout Council space, human stealth installations, and hidden fleets that had been there for years, completely undetected. Impossible. Sharp Edge chimed in alarm. Your technology can't. Can't what? Miller interrupted. Can't match yours. Can't surpass it. He walked around the table, each step measured and confident. You assumed we came here seeking permission. That was your first mistake. Battlemaster moved to block the exit, his massive form looming over the humans. You will not leave this station. Miller looked up at the alien war minister, completely unintimidated. We already have. As if on cue, the station's lights flickered, and alarms began blaring throughout the complex. What have you done? Bright Crystal demanded, his form pulsing with agitation. Nothing, Miller replied. Yet, he turned to address the entire council. We came here hoping for genuine peace talks. Instead, you showed us your true intentions. Consider what happens next a consequence of your choices. The human delegation walked toward the exit, aliens scrambling to get out of their way. As they reached the door, Miller turned one last time. You should have asked yourselves why we were so calm when you revealed your threats. Now you'll have time to think about it. The council chamber erupted into chaos as the humans departed, leaving behind a room full of alien leaders who were beginning to realize they had made a terrible mistake. The emergency council session convened within hours of the human delegation's departure from the chamber. Alien leaders filled the room with nervous energy, their previous confidence shattered by Miller's revelations. The massive holographic displays at the center of the chamber now showed a very different presentation. "This footage cannot be real," Battlemaster declared, his metallic voice wavering as they watched recordings of human military exercises. The images showed Earth ships appearing and disappearing at will, using technology that shouldn't have been possible for such a primitive species. Miller stood at the center of the chamber, his posture relaxed but commanding. "This is the cruiser Silent Night during the Outer Rim pirate engagement," he explained as the hologram showed a human vessel seamlessly phasing through an enemy blockade. "The pirates never even knew we were there." Deep Thought's compound eyes reflected the holographic light as it studied the footage. "These are fabrications, tricks to hide your weakness." "Are they?" Reed stepped forward, activating another data stream. "Here's something from last month. Your scout fleet near Saturn thought they were undetected." The display showed Earth defense platforms materializing around the alien scouts, weapons primed, before vanishing again without a trace. Sharp Edge chimed in distress. "Our sensors showed nothing." "Exactly," Miller replied, "just like they show nothing now." He gestured to the space around the station. "How many human ships do you think are watching us at this moment?" The alien leaders instinctively looked out the viewport into empty space, their confidence crumbling further. Bright crystals form, pulsed with agitated energy patterns. "This is about more than military capability," Miller continued, his voice carrying through the chamber. "While you were planning to harvest our worlds, we were studying you, learning your weaknesses, understanding your politics." He activated another display, showing detailed maps of every council member's critical infrastructure. Lisa Barnes stepped forward, adding to the presentation, "Your encryption wasn't as secure as you thought." She played back recordings of supposedly private council sessions discussing the planned invasion of Earth. "We knew your intentions before we ever arrived." The council chamber erupted in shocked murmurs and accusations. Species that had been allies for centuries began eyeing each other with suspicion, wondering what else humans might have discovered. "Impossible." Battlemaster slammed his massive fist on the table. "No species could have penetrated our security so completely." Miller smiled that unsettling smile again. "We didn't need to penetrate it. We were there when you built it." The displays showed human engineers and advisors who had been helping develop council security systems for years, hiding in plain sight. Reed activated one final hologram, a real-time display of council space showing hundreds of human stealth installations. "Your fleets aren't containing us." "They never were. We've been everywhere for years, waiting to see if peaceful cooperation was possible." The alien leaders watched in horror as the display revealed human presence in locations they had thought completely secure. Strategic points, trade routes, even their homeworlds. Nowhere was truly beyond Earth's reach. "This is your only warning," Miller announced, his voice carrying a weight that silenced the chamber. "Withdraw your fleets, cancel your invasion plans, or discover exactly why humanity has survived every attempt at conquest in our history." Deep Thought's antennae quivered. "You would wage war against the entire council." "No," Miller replied calmly. "We would end it before it began. Your choice is simple: genuine peace, or find out how much of your civilization runs through systems we helped build." The implications hung in the air like a physical presence. The council leaders looked at their data pads, their security systems, their ships, wondering what hidden vulnerabilities humans had woven into their fabric of power. "You have one standard day to decide," Miller concluded. "Choose wisely." As the human delegation prepared to leave the chamber again, the alien leaders remained frozen in their seats, the terrible realization dawning that they had not been dealing with a young, naive species at all. They had been dealing with a sleeping giant that had finally grown tired of their games. The council chamber had never felt more tense in its centuries of existence. The standard day given by the humans had passed, and now Ambassador Miller stood before the gathered leaders one final time. The air itself seemed to vibrate with unspoken threats and fear. High Counselor Bright Crystal's voice had lost its usual musical quality, replaced by sharp, desperate tones. "Surely we can reach an agreement. The Council offers full membership, unrestricted travel rights, access to all our technology. No, Miller interrupted, the single word echoing through the chamber. You still don't understand. We're not here to negotiate terms of surrender, yours or ours. The human delegation stood in perfect formation behind their ambassador. Their calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the agitated movements of the alien representatives surrounding them. Deep Thought skittered forward, its mandibles clicking rapidly. Think of what you're refusing. The combined power of the Council cooled. Could what? Miller asked, his voice carrying a hint of weariness. Could try to conquer us. Could attempt to steal our resources. Could discover exactly how prepared we are for that scenario. He shook his head slowly. We gave you a chance for peace. Real peace, not dominance disguised as protection. Battlemaster moved to block the main exit, his massive frame casting shadows across the floor. You cannot simply walk away from the Council. No species has ever. That's exactly why we're leaving. Reed interjected, speaking for the first time in hours. Your Council exists to dominate, not cooperate. You've proven that beyond any doubt. Miller stepped forward, and despite being physically smaller than most of the alien representatives, his presence seemed to fill the room. We came here hoping to find partners. Instead, we found predators wearing diplomatic robes. Lisa Barnes activated a small device, and suddenly every screen in the chamber displayed the same message. Humanity withdraws from all negotiations with the Galactic Council. You risk everything. Sharp Edge chimed in panic. Without the Council's protection. Protection. Miller laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. Let me be clear about what happens next. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes, optical sensors, and visual organs of every species present. Humanity is leaving. We will defend our space. Any hostile action against Earth or our colonies will be met with immediate and overwhelming response. The human delegation turned as one and began walking toward the exit. Battlemaster stood firm for a moment, then slowly stepped aside, his warrior's instincts warning him not to provoke these strange, terrifying beings. At the doorway, Miller paused. One last thing. He placed a small crystal on the nearest console. Everything you need to know is in there, including what happens if you make the wrong choice. The humans walked out, their footsteps echoing in the stunned silence. No alarms sounded. No guards appeared. The most powerful governing body in known space simply watched as Earth's representatives departed. In the docking bay, the human ship Peacekeeper prepared for departure. Unlike their arrival, no curious observers watched through the viewport. The alien leaders were too busy scrambling to access the crystal's contents, their previous arrogance replaced by growing dread. Inside their ship, the human delegation settled into their positions. Reed looked at Miller. Do you think they'll make the right choice? They'll make their choice, Miller replied, looking back at the station through the view screen. Right or wrong doesn't matter anymore. We gave them their chance. As the Peacekeeper detached from the station, its stealth systems engaged. The ship didn't just disappear from sensors. It vanished completely, leaving the Council to wonder how many other human vessels were watching, waiting, and ready. In the Council chamber, alien leaders stared at the crystal's contents, their faces, features, and forms showing various signs of horror as they realized the true meaning of humanity's departure. They hadn't just lost a potential subject race. They had awakened something far more dangerous, a species that had outgrown the need for their approval. The walk away from peace talks wasn't an act of surrender. It was a declaration of independence that would change the galaxy forever. The data crystal's contents spread through the Council station like a virus, infecting every leader with a terror they had never known. High Counselor Bright Crystal's form had dulled to a pale shadow of its usual brilliance as report after report scrolled across the chamber's main display. This cannot be accurate, Deep Thought chittered, its compound eyes reflecting endless streams of data. Their shadow fleet, it's larger than our combined forces. Battlemaster stood rigid, his warrior's pride crumbling as he reviewed military assessments. They have bases in the Dark Zone. The Dark Zone. We've tried to establish outposts there for centuries. The crystal revealed humanity's true reach. Hidden shipyards in supposedly empty systems, stealth monitoring posts near every major council world, trading companies that were fronts for Earth's intelligence operations. The humans hadn't just prepared for war. They had already positioned everything they needed to win it. Sharp Edge chimed in distress, reviewing economic data. They've been inside our banking systems for years. Every transaction, every trade route, every resource transfer. They see it all. A junior analyst rushed into the chamber, their tentacles writhing in agitation. The human colonies. They're gone. Gone. Bright Crystal's voice cracked. What do you mean gone? The massive displays showed empty space where thriving human settlements had been just hours before. No debris, no energy signatures, no trace they had ever existed. Earth itself had vanished behind some kind of technological veil that made their entire solar system appear uninhabited. How long? Battlemaster demanded. How long have they been able to hide entire worlds? The crystal answered that question too. Humanity had developed their stealth technology, not for war, but for survival. They had watched countless alien species fall to council protection, and had decided long ago to be ready. Deep Thought's antennae twitched violently as it processed more data. The humans in our territories, the merchants, the tourists, the cultural exchanges, all of them gone. Sharp Edge confirmed. Disappeared without a trace. But the crystal shows. The display shifted, revealing that many of these tourists had been military observers. The merchants had been mapping hyperspace routes. The cultural exchanges had been studying council weaknesses. For years, humans had been hiding their true capabilities behind a mask of primitive curiosity. A new alert flashed across every screen. Council ships near Earth's former colonies reported strange occurrences, phantom sensor readings, mysterious power fluctuations, and a growing sense among their crews that they were being watched. They're still out there, Bright Crystal whispered, his crystalline structure vibrating with fear. Watching. Waiting. Battlemaster slammed his fist on the console. We cannot allow this. The Council has ruled space for millennia. We should strike now. Before. Before what? Sharp Edge interrupted. Before they reveal more of their capabilities. Before we discover what else they've hidden from us. The crystal's final data package began playing. A detailed analysis of every council member species' vulnerabilities. Critical defense systems the humans had helped design. Trade routes they could disrupt. Secrets they had gathered over years of patient observation. Deep Thought's voice carried an unfamiliar emotion. Despair. They could have destroyed us at any time. They chose not to. The realization hit them all at once. Humanity hadn't come to the peace talks, seeking admission to the Council. They had come to give the Council one last chance to choose peace over dominance. What do we do? A junior counselor asked, voicing the fear that gripped them all. Bright Crystal stared at the empty displays where Earth's colonies had been. We pray, he said, his voice barely audible, that they remain content with walking away. The council chamber fell silent, its leaders finally understanding the true horror of their situation. They hadn't been dealing with primitives playing at galactic politics. They had been dealing with a species that had seen through their games, prepared for their betrayal, and grown strong enough to simply walk away from their power. And somewhere out in the darkness of space, invisible human ships watched the Council's reaction, ready to respond to whatever choice they made next. A month after humanity's departure, the Galactic Council faced an unprecedented crisis. The massive trading hall, once bustling with activity, stood eerily quiet. Market displays showed plummeting values as entire sectors of the economy collapsed. Another merchant fleet lost in the dark zone. Deep Thought reported to the emergency session. They attempted to map new trade routes around human space. No distress signals. No debris. They simply vanished. The council members, once proud rulers of known space, now jumped at shadows. Every unexplained sensor reading, every communication glitch, brought whispers of human involvement. The fear of invisible watchers had paralyzed their expansion efforts. Battlemaster stood at the central platform, his usually impressive armor now seeming like a child's costume. Our patrols report ghost readings near the former Earth colonies, sensor echoes that appear and disappear, ships that show up on scanners for split seconds before vanishing. Are they real? Sharp Edge asked, his crystalline form dulled by stress. Or are they letting us see just enough to keep us afraid? Bright Crystal's next words were interrupted by a station-wide alert. The main display activated automatically, showing a human cargo ship appearing out of nowhere in the middle of Council space. Before anyone could react, it disappeared again, leaving behind only questions and fear. "They're taunting us," a junior member whispered. "No," Deep Thought corrected, its mandibles clicking softly. "They're reminding us, showing us that every jump point, every trading route, every secure system we thought we controlled, they can access them all." The economic reports grew worse by the day. Worlds that had depended on trade with human colonies faced shortages. Markets that humans had quietly supported through their front companies began to collapse. The Council's carefully constructed economic web was unraveling thread by thread. "The outer colonies are demanding answers," Sharp Edge reported. "Their populations saw humans as friends, as trading partners. Now they question our authority, our decisions." A new alert drew their attention. The main screen showed a massive Council warship near the Dark Zone. As they watched, small distortions appeared around it, barely visible ripples in space. The warship's crew reported no unusual readings, but every Council member watching knew. Humans were there, invisible, sending a clear message about who really controlled space. "We could attempt to rebuild the trade routes," Battlemaster suggested, but his voice lacked conviction. "Find new resources, establish new colonies, and risk encountering their hidden bases." Bright Crystal's voice carried the weight of their collective fear. Every unexplored system could be another human stronghold. Every empty sector could hide their fleets. The Council chamber, once the seat of absolute power in known space, now felt like a cage. Their mighty civilization, built on countless subjugated species, had been humbled not by war or rebellion, but by a species that simply chose to walk away, and had the power to make that choice stick. "There's a transmission," Deep Thought announced suddenly. "From human space, or where human space used to be." The message was short, text only. "We are still here. We are still watching. Choose wisely." The Council members stared at those words, understanding their true meaning. Humanity hadn't just achieved independence, they had redefined power in the galaxy. They didn't need to conquer or control. Their ability to simply exist outside the Council's reach, to appear and disappear at will, had broken the Council's assumption of absolute authority. As the session ended, Bright Crystal remained alone in the chamber, watching the endless dance of ships around the station. Each one now carried a question. Was it being watched? Were humans tracking it? Had humanity's invisible empire already grown larger than the Council's visible one? The aftermath of the peace talks wasn't marked by war or conflict. Instead, it was defined by something far more devastating to the Council's power: the knowledge that they were no longer the most advanced civilization in known space. That title belonged to a species that had hidden its true nature until the moment it chose to walk away, leaving behind a galaxy forever changed by their departure. The Council had lost far more than a potential subject race. They had lost their certainty, their authority, and most importantly, their illusion of control. And somewhere out there, invisible human ships continued their silent watch, ensuring that the lesson would never be forgotten.